Rape allegations embroil Kingwood Pines Psychiatric Hospital in Houston. He knew something was wrong as soon as he saw his 13-year-old daughter. Even as she struggled with depression at Kingwood Pines Psychiatric Hospital, she always gave him a hug when he visited. But that October day in 2015, she sat quietly, withdrawn, and fled to her room only minutes after he arrived. He flagged down a nurse. What was wrong? Had they changed her medications? The nurse pulled him aside and lowered her voice. His daughter said she'd been raped by 2 other patients the night before. "I wanted the boys and I wanted my daughter out of there," he said, recalling his fury. "That's not a day you want to relive." Translator To read this article in one of Houston's most spoken languages, click on the button below. Select language 1/4. The girl was one of 2 teens assaulted at the hospital that night by 2 other patients, according to a lawsuit filed recently in Harris County Court. But the allegations were not the only concerns raised in recent years about patient safety at the 116-bed psychiatric hospital in Kingwood and its parent company, the for-profit nationwide chain, Universal Health Services Incorporated. A Houston Chronicle review of medical records, court filings, hospital accreditation reports and records from state and federal regulators, and interviews with parents, portray an understaffed facility that has failed to watch over patients, leaving the most vulnerable among them open to further victimization. The parents of the 2 girls agreed to talk to the Chronicle on the condition they be identified by first names only, to protect the privacy of their daughters. The Chronicle does not typically identify the victims of alleged sexual assault. Hospital Chief Executive Officer Shandy Carter said Kingwood Pines denies the allegations and will fight the case. Due to the pendency of litigation and patient confidentiality requirements, we cannot comment further at this time but look forward to defending this case in court, Carter said in a statement emailed to the Chronicle. Over the course of many years, Kingwood's dedicated and compassionate clinicians have successfully provided care to tens of thousands of patients, enabling them to live happier, healthier and more productive lives, she wrote. "Our most sacred responsibility is and always will be the well-being of our patients. We are committed to our mission of providing high-quality treatment programs and services to patients with serious and complex mental health needs who often come to Kingwood during some of the most difficult periods of their lives." She said Kingwood cooperated fully with state and federal regulators and independent accreditors to comply with all requirements. UHS did not respond to multiple requests for comment. The lawsuit, filed January 8, argues that hospital administrators acted negligently, failing to provide a safe and secure environment for the 2 patients. It seeks up to $1 million in damages. "I don't want them operating," said Joe Matthew, the attorney who filed the lawsuit on behalf of the two families. "These are kids. Scrutiny from regulators. The Federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has cited the facility for 9 separate violations of state rules governing patient care since 2011, including a 2016 incident in which 3 high-risk adolescent patients escaped from the facility. Investigators concluded the hospital did not have enough staff that weekend to adequately monitor the 23 adolescent patients in its care. In a separate 2015 incident, the hospital was cited for placing 2 adolescent patients in the same room, even though one had a documented history of perpetrating sexual abuse and the other had previously been a victim of sexual violence. After an evening alone in their room, the boy who had previously been a victim reported to hospital staff that he and the other boy had engaged in sexual activity. The hospital failed to impose any disciplinary action against a nurse who falsely claimed hospital staff had been monitoring the boys that evening as required, according to the reports. 3 years earlier, in 2012, the hospital was cited for failing to accurately log how often patients were being observed after 2 adults were found having sex in a patient room. Information from the Joint Commission, which accredits and certifies healthcare organizations and programs in the United States, shows performance issues at Kingwood Pines surfaced during hospital-wide inspections in 2011 and 2014. The hospital corrected the deficiencies and has been in compliance ever since, said Elizabeth Zani, a Joint Commission spokeswoman. The Joint Commission's Office of Quality and Patient Safety assesses reports of public safety and quality. The Commission was not aware of the alleged assault on October 26, 2015, Zani wrote in an email response to the Chronicle. The lawsuit is the latest allegation of unsafe conditions in recent years at facilities owned by UHS. Congressional leaders first called for an investigation into UHS in 2015, after reports of unsafe facilities in Massachusetts and Illinois. Federal regulators have repeatedly faulted UHS hospitals for patient safety lapses and other issues, according to government records. The company operates more than 24 hospitals in Texas, including 4 in the Houston area. Officials from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, in September 2015 wrote they had found 50 serious deficiencies in quality of care or safety since 2012 and 8 findings of immediate jeopardy non-compliance in 44 UHS hospitals certified to accept Medicare, according to a letter sent to U.S. Representative Joe Kennedy III of Massachusetts. 37 of the 44 facilities subsequently took appropriate, remedial action to come into substantial compliance with federal requirements, the letter noted. In October, a 13-year-old girl at Timberlawn Hospital in Dallas reported being raped by another patient, the Dallas Morning News reported. A federal CMS Statement of Deficiencies report concluded the hospital failed to ensure a safe setting for the patient, had inadequate training for staff and did not follow national standards for nursing supervision. The report came after the hospital had faced previous scrutiny and possible closure over unsafe conditions in 2015. Timberlawn recently notified the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services that it plans to voluntarily shut down. James Miller, the CEO of Timberlawn, has informed CMS that it intends to close on February 1 or as soon after that as possible, said Bob Moose, spokesman for the CMS Dallas office. The facility will be expected to safely relocate patients before that occurs. State regulators, meanwhile, have investigated 50 complaints related to patient care against Kingwood Pines Hospital from 2010 to last fall, substantiating 12 of them, according to Texas health officials. At UHS's 3 other Houston-area psychiatric hospitals, regulators have investigated over 100 complaints, substantiating more than 30, the spokesman said. The agency is barred by state law from providing additional information about complaints and investigations against Texas hospitals.